In 2008, Mike and Kat Schoenborn lost their triplets to stillborn, Jonas, Evan, Ian. They had names. It was a tragedy, but they turned that tragedy into triumph. They turned it around to help others. They came up with the Sleeping Angels Endowment. Their story is inspiring. How about Richard Cohen? Not a familiar name to you? Maybe Meredith Vieira, the husband of Meredith Vieira. He has multiple sclerosis. He's an author, a journalist, a storyteller, a father, a husband. His story talks about how we all have challenges, whether it's multiple sclerosis or red hair. His story is educational. Right here in our own backyard, if you run a marathon, run one with me on October 20th. Marathon Don. He broke a world record, 7 marathons in 7 continents, just over 25 days. I think he has about 241 marathons under his belt. His story is pretty entertaining. What's your story? We all have a story. Have you told yours yet? Good morning and welcome to the morning show. I'm Shelly Irwin. Good you're here, and that is how I start my day, Monday through Friday from 9 to 11. I love what I do because I get to share stories. I get to share stories that inspire, that educate, and to entertain. What I'd like to do today is to share a couple of those stories to you and then convince you that you should be sharing your story. How about the story of A Smile is as Big as the Moon? You might be familiar with the book. You might be familiar with the movie, and it's a familiarity because the author lives right here in West Michigan. Mike Kurgis, Forest Central high school teacher, special education, loved what he did, loved the kids loved him. But special education meant autism, Down syndrome, angry children. It meant obstacles, but these kids deserved a chance, and Mike and the kids wanted to go to space camp. What were the obstacles? Money. These kids. Permission. The space camp. This is a camp for gifted kids. Cut to the chase. Obviously, those obstacles were managed. They raised the money. They had the bake sales. They had the car washes. They got the permission. It didn't take overnight. They got the permission to go to space camp. They went, and they won on a lot of awards. Take-home message. From A Smile as Big as the Moon, give everybody a chance. How about Deet Iman? Things We Couldn't Say is her book. She's 90-something. She lives right here in West Michigan. Grew up in Holland in the Netherlands. She had a calling. What was her calling? She wanted to hide the Jews. She was with the Christian Renaissance, resistance, and of course, that was her calling. It was World War II, and you know what was happening. We need to keep these stories alive. She and her fiancé helped hide the Jews. There was a situation where she was in a train station, had the ration coupons down her bra, and yes, she was discovered along with her fiancé. They were both sent to the camp. Her fiancé did not make it. She did. She lives to tell her story, things we couldn't say, and she lives right here in West Michigan. Take-home message, if you have a passion, go for it. If you have a calling, don't let anything stop you. I have the opportunity to talk to many community organizations. Girls on the Run, great organization right here in West Michigan, Kent, Ottawa, Allegan counties. Grades 3 through 5 sit around in a circle for 10 weeks, 2 times a week. Volunteers, coaches, mentor. Sure, they talk about running because at the end of those 10 weeks, there's a big 5K. But they also talk about bullying. They talk about self-esteem. They talk about leadership. Good friends are made. And they run a 5K along with their mentors, along with their dads, along with the superintendents, everybody wearing the number 1. There are winners, but each of them are a winner. Take-home message, set the health foundation early, whether it's mentally or physically. Bart Sumner, local actor, lost his 10-year-old David to a freak football accident. It could happen to you or me tomorrow. It was very sad. He and his family grieved for a long time. But again, Bart was an actor. His specialty, improv. He was feeling guilty. Why was I continuing my improv? Why was I laughing on the evening when I need to continue to grieve for his son David. But he turned those talents into something more. Improv helped him, so improv must help others who obviously go through grieving, whether it's the loss of a child, a dog, or other. So he came up with the nonprofit organization along with a great team, Healing Improv. Just set off the ground for those who are grieving, get involved in improv. Take home message, take your talents to a higher level. You want to know my story in a nutshell? In elementary school, I wanted to be on the Brady Bunch. In junior high, I wanted to be, of course, a writer. In high school, I wanted to be on radio and television. And I proudly hold a master's degree in physical therapy. I practiced physical therapy for 15 years. It was a profession I loved. I studied hard. But at age 38, I felt those childhood dreams coming back. And it was a time in my life, after my boyfriend broke up with me, that I needed to make a change and follow this childhood dream. At that point, I was living in Rochester, Michigan. I did my homework. I sat in the libraries and studied. I talked to the people in the business. I continued physical therapy, but I made the decision. Went back to Specs Howard School of Broadcast Arts for 8 months. My classmates were 18 years old with lots of tattoos. But I worked hard, got an internship at WJR, WXYZ, poured coffee in the host cup when he poured it up, served dinner on the change from 2000 to, actually 1999 to 2000. Those were my big roles. My first break in the broadcasting industry as I went to the airport and called in flight delays. That was a big deal. I was in Germany on 9/11, helping to produce a show. I did that for 2.5 years. I was working all the time, physical therapy on the side, and I knew this is what I wanted to do. I went up to the news director, asked for more work. Where's my future here? And he mentioned that he didn't quite think I had a broadcast voice. So I needed to make some decisions. And thank goodness found out about WGVU and their opportunity for a job, and that was 11.5 years ago, and I love Mondays. So take-home message from my personal story. Please follow your childhood dreams if they are calling you. Just a couple highlights, dropping some names. Richard Simmons, he was in Holland probably 8 years ago. Kissed me on the cheek, his shorts are too short. Arnold Schwarzenegger, had an exclusive with him in the inner cities of Detroit. All I'll say on that is his biceps are as big as they look. I've had presidents in the studio, and that alligator is probably 14 foot long at this point. I have fun at what I do. I share stories. Here's the call to action for you. How many stories have you heard today? You are ready to get out there and share your story, plus the stories you've heard. Where have you been? Whether you're 20 or 90-something. And where will you go? Perhaps your story's not finished. We're all on a journey. Some 400 of you in here. Who's sitting next to you? Are you interested in his story? You interested in her story? We all are curious. We all bleed the same. We have some similarities, but we have differences as well. Your story is important. Your story is unique. Your story matters. It has value, but it's different, like a thumbprint. So let's talk about your story. Start talking about you and what you need to pass on. You'll do it after our next speaker concludes and your end of day has come. You'll do it at your service organization. You may sing your story. Taylor Swift does. Be careful. You need a voice. Let's write about it today. Go ahead. Once upon a time. Start it that way. No one needs to know. Use your typewriter. Use your computer. Wait, are typewriters still? Oops. Blog it, Facebook it, tweet it. Write it on a pad of paper that you carry around where no one sees. Those are the best stories. Had an opportunity to share a couple of stories from senior citizens, and you know where I'm going here. If you're a senior citizen, and I think that's those of us over 50, which is scary, that gets me a discount at McDonald's. Share your stories. Ask the seniors to share their stories. I was able to interview Stu and Mary Ellen, Clarence and Doris. Doris is no longer with us. 3 things I ask. Well, how did you keep your marriage together? What did it take to make at least 60 years of marriage? And what is your advice to us? Communicate. You know where I'm going with this. Never go to bed angry. And yes, sex happens after the age of 65. You go, girl. If you've had a bad start in life, you can start over. You can write about it. We'll call her Jane with the hat. She had a bad start in life, but she found a mentor, and she found an opportunity through our local Grand Rapids Community Foundation to be involved in a summer program that put her to work mowing lawns, doing yard work. She's a different person. She wants to work. She's been given a chance. Ideas? You need a couple ideas? Tell me something you're afraid to tell. Tell me that story that you're holding on to with a clenched fist. What makes you excited? What will help inspire, educate, and entertain? So tell your story. Reflect on your life. It'll feel good. Leave your legacy and share a lesson. Do it now. Be extra good. And when you're ready, come talk to me. I'll put you on the radio. Thank you.